Okay. In the meantime, everyone, good day. My name is Paige Hanna. I am the Assistant Director of Marketing at Access Accelerator. I will be assisting Llewellyn today with your questions. However, I just wanted to drop a note that a lot of the questions that persons do have, I don't know if Llewellyn already said this, but a lot of the questions that persons have already asked or frequently asked, we actually have already on our website. I will drop the link in the chat box, but if you go to accessaccelerator.org and you click on our help center, we have a knowledge base that has questions specifically for the grant, as well as our other programs and general information. So there are a lot of basic questions or like answers that we already have. And so when it comes to those repetitive questions, we'll try and get the ones that may be a little I guess, different from the ones that we usually get and that would already be provided on our website. Okay, so I will drop that link in the chat for those frequently asked questions.
So, thank you
Okay,
everyone
just
for
making
joining.
sure.
Thanks again, Paige. While I had that adjustment. So, what we wanted to talk about, what I wanted to firstly talk about was standalone grant round 3. So, as you all know, we've had 2 rounds of the standalone grant program thus far. Standalone grant round 3 will open on the 1st of February and it will close on the 19th of February at 11:59 p.m. The maximum eligible funding per entrepreneur, per business license, per entrepreneur, per company, per business license is $5,000. To be eligible for this program, you must be a Bahamian-owned business, meaning the majority of your shares or the majority of the ownership should be 51%. You must have, at the time of application, a valid business license. And you must not have been awarded any prior funding through any of our programs or affiliate programs to be eligible for this particular grant program. If you are approved in the standalone grant, you are ineligible for any other standalone grant funding. We ask you to participate in any of our sponsored marketing or PR campaigns, and we ask you that you provide economic impact information for 3 years after funding. So you will have a 3-year relationship with us, starting from the approval date and then 3 years from there. To the process for this particular grant is there's an application form. Right now, if you go onto our website and you go to accessaccelerator.org and you go into the funding tab and select standalone grant, you will see a flyer that has all of the relevant information that I'm going through today and a little bit more detail than I may touch on in this presentation. But the requirements for this particular program are, firstly, you must submit the application by the deadline. You must watch a virtual 2-hour entrepreneurship seminar. You must complete the application in its entirety. You must upload proof of citizenship. So this can be a valid passport or the most recent voter's card. You must upload the business license or proof that the business license, not the trade name, but the business license is processing or has been approved. And then you must upload invoices, quotes, estimates with their accompanying wire instructions. The approval process for the standalone grants are as follows. You submit the application form. The application submissions are final. We won't allow any editing to occur in this particular round. The first round of approval, meaning seeing if you meet the minimum requirements, ensuring that you have all of the documentation that we've requested and you've completed all of the items in its entirety, that is going to occur on a weekly basis. The final approval will be a meeting with the adjudication committee. This is made up of members from the University of Bahamas, from the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Bahamas Venture Fund. I drew a blank just now. At that meeting, we discuss the following criteria. So we look at how much is budgeted, how the budget allocated for this particular program. We then look at the islands. We try to just disperse the funds equitably across all of the islands. We look at the business status, so whether you're a startup or an existing business. We also look at the industry that you're in. We also look at through the details provided in the application. And then lastly, we look at the date of submission. All of the decisions for the standalone grant programs are sent out via email as well. So let's talk about one of the biggest questions that we've had with the standalone round 1 and round 2. A lot of persons are concerned, confused, and a little bit irritated at the fact that they have not been successful. So I just wanted to break down a little bit for you the reality under which we are living in. So in the previous round, the first round that we launched last year, we had $1 million. We had 876 total applicants, and we were able to approve 256 applicants. And in that round, persons requested 6.5 approximately $1 million, right? Round 2, we had less money. We had $700,000. There were 1,862 applications. And we were able to approve 164 of them. But of those 1,800, they requested 73 million. Now, if you do your math and you multiply it by 5, you know that exceeds the amount. But this is what persons are requesting in funding. So I'm saying all this to say is that there is a reality under which we have to operate. And so I will get into it in a little bit, the application itself and the details in it. But I just wanted you all to be made aware of exactly how many persons you are competing with, and then how many persons have applied, persons who've been successful. And then we also will publish the details of all of the recipients at another time. So my suggestions, recommendations for round 3. I would always recommend that you submit your application early. As I mentioned before, one of the criteria is date of submission. So if we've gone through and we have to choose between 1 or 2 or 3 persons, we will look at the application that was submitted first. So it is great that you all are here. So in my mind, you can get a jump start on collecting the documents so that on the 1st of February, you're able to start your application process. In the sections where we ask questions, so we ask questions like mission statement, vision statement, what are the use of funds? How have you coped in the pandemic? What are your plans in the next 12 months, for example? In those sections, it is so important that you provide as much detail as possible. And why does that matter? Because that helps us to determine how the funding that you've requested would best serve you in the particular industry you're in, how you're able to either start your business, get your business going, either to rebound after a shutdown or whatever happened to you last year. If you're able to tell us all of those relevant details, we're able to make a better assessment in terms of having to guess what happened to your business or what's happening to your business or where your business actually is. We also ask questions like, what are you using the funds for? In some instances, you may feel like that's an invasion, an intrusion. Why do you need to know all of this? Because like I showed you in the last slide, there are so many applicants. There are so many persons who are absolutely interested in this program. We have to find a way and an equitable way. So I mentioned the criteria. We have to find an equitable way on how to adjudicate one application against another, considering we don't know you, we've never met some of you, we don't know your business and the intimate nature of your business. So we have to use the information that you've provided us to ascertain how best the funding you've requested would serve your business. Additionally, we've had issues with copies that have been uploaded. So it's important that you upload legible copies of all of your documents. That means double checking that the passport that you uploaded, you can see clearly your face, your name, the expiry date. I'm okay with like dog ears on the paper, but the relevant information, meaning the name of the business, it's the total amount on the invoice, numbers and letters on the invoice or the quote or in the wire instructions are legible such that we don't have to use that particular item as, something we're going to have to reject, make a tough decision and reject this applicant because we just cannot see the documents that were uploaded. And I don't mean I don't have a program to upload it. I mean, when it's opened, it is not visible. I can't see very important and pertinent information. Additionally, in round 3, a couple of things that we have had issues with, I take that back. A number of items that we've had to take into consideration for the previous 2 rounds. Firstly, as I mentioned before, and I'll go back to the slide with the criteria. We have a budget. What we've done is we've decided to spread the funding across the islands, and I'll share that with you. We've decided that 60% of the funding will go to New Providence, 20% of the funding will go to the Family Islands, and the remaining 20% will go to Grand Bahama. We've also looked at the rounds over rounds. So for example, if an island like Mayaguana didn't receive any funding in round 2, and there are eligible applicants in round 3, we want to ensure that persons from islands that hadn't been served before are able to access the funding like that. When we look at the business status, we like 30% of the funding to go towards startups and the remaining 70% to go to existing businesses. Industries, we're not too concerned about the percentages of those, but we like every industry that has an application to be represented in the final funding amount. So if there are no persons who are in the financial services, then there are no persons. But there is one person who applied in landscaping and maintenance, for example, we want to ensure that that person is represented once they meet all of the minimum requirements. We also look at the details provided, as I mentioned earlier. So we read through the information that you provide us. So for example, persons would submit invoices, quotes, or estimates that far exceed even the maximum amount, the $5,000. What we've had to do is this person able to pay the balance that is owing? And because we don't know, we don't have a relationship with the applicants, sometimes we have to make some tough decisions and say, okay, they can make the balance payment of 600, or we could make some decisions based on that. But in a lot of instances, sometimes persons say, well, I need $50,000 in funding, and that may be quite surely be the case. But this funding program is $5,000. And no matter how much pleading and prodding you do with us, we will never exceed that amount because we do have to stick within the confines, the directives that we've received for these particular programs. And lastly, I mentioned earlier, the date of submission. So I've kept this presentation extremely short because I knew I would be answering more questions than I needed to talk about. So if you're not successful for round 1, round 2, round 3 of the standalone grant, we have upcoming funding initiatives and programs in the next upcoming months. So we have the farming and fishing program that is currently ongoing. The deadline for that is February 29th. The Technology and Innovation Grant will be launching soon. The youth program, as well as the domestic tourism initiative, Over the Hill program, the Orange and the Blue Economy initiatives will also be starting in the upcoming months. So it's not to say that if you're not successful here, this is the end of the road. This will be the only national standalone grant where there won't be specific requirements for your business. But the others you will have to fit into one of those groups or categories. And Paige already dropped some of the information in the chat on how to reach us, but these are all the ways you can reach us. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then our website has the most information for you. So under the funding tab, you can find all of the programs that are live now. And then under the help center is where you can go to for assistance in the frequently asked questions that Paige shared, as well as you will need to submit a ticket for either a callback, if you have a technical issue, if you're having some further questions you need answered, those would be the ways. Additionally, our customer service WhatsApp numbers are also available. So I'm going to end here, but I know there are some questions I already know will be asked. So the first question that I've gotten on my own was, what is the reason, or what are the reasons that I was denied? So as I went through, you can see the criteria that we use to adjudicate, as well as to make final approvals, to make final decisions. Those reasons, any one of those reasons could be why your application was rejected. Unfortunately, we just don't have the capacity to provide specific reasons. Firstly, because it just takes a lot of work to write down the reason why and then to send it to every one of those applications. Imagine if I had to send out 1,800 reasons, well, 1,800 less 164 reasons why you weren't successful. And the biggest reason most persons aren't successful is simply the budget. We just don't have the budget to approve everyone. Secondly, what we don't want persons to do is to get into the trap of, just because you did this one thing wrong, we don't want you to just change that one thing in hopes that you will be successful moving forward. Because sometimes it's not just the one thing. I mean, obviously, if you don't upload a document, then that's easy. But in some instances, it's a little bit more nuanced than just you didn't submit an application. And I hope going through the criteria would help some of you understand why specific reasons haven't been given to every single applicant who was unsuccessful in rounds 1 and round 2. Another question I get a lot is, am I able to apply for more than one grant funding? So that's a tricky question. If you are unsuccessful in round 1 and round 2, you are most definitely eligible to apply for round 3 if you meet the minimum requirements. Additionally, once you've received any standalone grant funding, you're not eligible to apply to any other program that has standalone grant funding, unless that particular program specifies that you can. So it's important when you go into our other programs and initiatives coming up that you read very carefully the eligibility requirements, because some of them will allow you to apply if you've received standalone grant funding, some of them will not. For example, the farming and fishing program does not preclude you from being eligible for that funding, even if you've received any prior funding from any one of our Access Accelerator programs. Are you still eligible to participate in the regular Access Accelerator program? Most definitely. And when I say the regular Access Accelerator program, I'm talking about our normal advisory training and funding program, where you able to access loan, debt, to access grant, matching grant, loan, and equity. That program, you are eligible no matter what funding you've received in the past. That also has a cap, a max on that particular program. So those are the questions that I could remember off the top of my head. And so, of course, I knew. I knew.
We have a lot in here, so.
Shoot,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, I mean, if you want, I can go through them as they coming in. Okay. So we have a question here. Do you look for a type of business for the grant?
Sure.
Because I've applied 2 times
So no,
already. I know
we're
you
not in
kind of
this
touched on
program.
this,
This
just to
particular
reiterate.
standalone grant funding
Is it a type of
national, so
business?
the eligibility requirements are maybe because you talking. I think it's you, Paige.
You breaking up now,
But
Llewellyn.
wasn't I good for the
Hold
whole?
on.
There we go. So all
No,
of this
I have
particular
nothing
standalone
I
grant
had my
program
mute and all.
is the requirements are general.
Sorry,
We don't
go
look
ahead.
at
I
any
can hear you
particular
now.
industry. We're not looking to only support a particular industry at all. Like I said, we would like all industries who apply to be represented in the approval, such that we can diversify the micro, small, and medium um, sector in the economy. Next. Sure. So the business license
All right.
is required. The business license has always been
I
required.
believe
Where we
I
have
read
allowed
that if
persons to
we are
not
in
have
the
the actual
process of
document
applying
because
for
we
the
recognize
grant
that Inland
without
Revenue
having
has
a
been sending approval
license, it
emails,
was
but
okay to
some persons were not
proceed
able
with
to
the
access
application. But now you're
actual.
saying the license is a must. You want to touch on that, Llewellyn?
Charm.
Okay, we can't.
You break it up again.
Okay, maybe I can help a little bit. Can you hear me, Paige?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, the business license has always been required. It's that Inland Revenue was backed up, and so they were offering approval letters for the business license. And so when we said in process, it's not to be confused with the trade name approval, which of course is just that initial, but that you had some other document from Inland Revenue saying your business license has been approved. You just
Yes, that's
haven't
correct.
received it
Thank
as
you.
yet to upload. So that would be an approval letter. I believe it could also be the approval email, the receipt of payment together. Something saying that, but it had to have been approved, just not in your possession. That's what I believe the confusion is.
Okay. I have this wasn't in. Yeah, thank you, Tamron. I just saw
Sure. I
this
mean, that's an
comment in the
excellent
chat.
point,
I'm
and
not going to
I completely
normally do
understand. If
this, but only
I
because I
applying for
think
any
this
opportunity, I
point
want to
was
know that what are my
important
chances of
to
being successful.
address.
The reason why I
Someone
mentioned
said this information is a little helpful, but yet again, it still does not provide enough confidence to ensure approval of one reapplying. I just wanted you to touch on that about the guarantee of this program.
sure.
You still break it up well, and you want me to drop these to you in WhatsApp and you respond to me?
Yes, you are gone again.
Uh,
Maybe, yeah, Paige, what about your suggestion? I could try to answer that question.
yeah, well, then I could drop some in WhatsApp. If you could just read them and respond, I could read them for you. All right.
What, Paige, tell me that question again, though.
Yeah. So basically, this person, I'm guessing they had applied before they want to reapply, but they're saying that we're not providing enough confidence to ensure approval if one is reapplying. And so I just wanted to touch on the fact that about ensuring or guarantee of this program. And while I could just tack this own like part of it on is guarantee of the program approval as well as the full $5,000 amount, I think is important.
Okay, so I mean, Llewellyn, I think you should probably start recording maybe an add-on, but I will attempt to answer that. Yes, it would be ideal if you could be guaranteed that you would receive the funding, but unfortunately, that's not how this grant program, or really any grant program, I've been a part of quite a few myself, or things you're applying to, as Llewellyn explained, I think extensively earlier, there are budgets created for each of these grant programs. And so when we don't have unlimited funding, so our message when we advertise the grants are always to be transparent about how much money is available for the grants. And so, if it's a grant that has $100,000 provided for it, that's all we have to give. And so we cannot guarantee, even if you dot every I or dot every T, it comes down to the amount of funding that's available. So it's just not guaranteed. And even though in all things in life, you would like to be certain because you spend your time. But it's similar, even with, let's talk about scholarships or college applications. You will spend your time writing all those essays and you just are not guaranteed that you're going to get it. And so it's a similar situation with this program. You can spend your time, and we take the time to go through because we understand people invest their time in providing the information. So that's the first thing. The second thing with the $5,000 is a similar situation, except that some of the reasons that you might not get the full 5,000, someone had asked a question in the chat that I answered saying, for instance, if you requested 5,000, but your invoices didn't meet the requirements. So for instance, half of your invoices met the requirements with the wire instructions and half of them didn't. If it is not apparent that you would be hindered by not getting the full 5,000, then we would try and let you have the amount of funding that met the requirements. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but so you might find, okay, you uploaded wire instructions for 3,000 of your invoices, and so we would let that get through even though your other vendors or invoices did not meet the requirement.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I hope that answered your question. We have a question here, or like a comment rather,
I answered the question. Yeah, that's fine.
about
Sorry. That's my answer.
businesses that hire other businesses
Yeah,
to
it's fine.
develop business plans or complete the application process. Is this okay or acceptable by Access Accelerator? Llewellyn, you want to try? Oh,
I'll try one more again.
you trying to talk, Llewellyn?
No one can guarantee you approval in this program.
Oh, that was your answer.
We have
Okay,
invited persons,
but I mean,
external partners to participate in the approval
okay.
and
Also,
adjudication.
just to note that I mean,
So
because
it
I
is
know
not
there
a
was some
situation where we can say,
questions or
oh yes, once
concerns
you've
before
done all
about
that you can and
persons
all that you need to do, you are
guaranteeing,
guaranteed this funding. It may have been
being approved if
promoted
using
as such,
their
but it can't. I mean, the
services.
math does not allow it to be
Llewellyn, you
guaranteed
want
to
to touch on
everyone who
that?
meets the minimum requirements, because there are a lot of businesses. There are a lot of businesses that have business licenses that can provide the requested information, that can complete in its entirety the application, and are in need to either jumpstart, rebound, pivot, or just to expand. There is just a reality that we need to face. So
You're still breaking up a lot, Llewellyn.
Okay. Just no one can guarantee you. If you see it anywhere, it's
I
not
don't have
from
my
us.
phone.
We cannot know. If you see a business trainer that's saying, use me to write your business plan and you will get approved, or anything of that nature, it's not possible. There is no one. Not even if you know Llewellyn. No one can guarantee you that you will receive this. The process is involved with external partners, not just internal SBDC staff, and all of that is meant to mitigate anything like that. So ignore all of that noise in the marketplace. We are aware that some people were doing so, but we have not endorsed it.
Okay. Another question. Also, Llewellyn, like I say, if you want to check through the questions and answer any of them through WhatsApp, I could speak on your behalf, okay? But another question we had is, oh, you don't have WhatsApp web? Come on, Llewellyn. Okay. All right. I have an Asian supplier. Well, sorry, side note. Llewellyn, you could also answer some of the questions on the chat as well if you'd like. I have an Asian supplier. They provided me with a quote and their wire transfer information. However, I've been told that using Asian suppliers will cancel my quote because of their different banking. Can you clarify if it's okay to use them?
It's not, I am aware. I had a client a while back that had an issue with an Asian supplier, but it's not on our end. So any supplier you use, you need to make sure that they can receive funds from a Bahamian bank, because the problem with Asian suppliers, I only have one experience with this, is that their bank would not receive it because of some laws they have, and I think that's China specific. So you just confirm with any supplier you use that they, whatever banking information they use, is set up to receive funds from a Bahamian bank account. And I do not think, but it's not the, we don't have problems with the supplier being Asian.
Okay. What about items that you need from companies like
You still
Amazon,
need to
Walmart,
add
eBay
on
that
the,
don't
even if you
provide
do it with the freight
invoices or
forwarder,
quotes? What are you to
you
do?
still need to
Also,
add in
some
the
countries don't
invoices
speak
that
English
the
well,
items
and
of
it's
the thing,
hard to
items
receive
that they will be
an
purchasing.
invoice.
So it can't just say
Unfortunately, with
Walmart
these types of
$4,000.
issues,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of wiggle room that we can offer. We do not do process credit card payments or anything like that,
If I could just
PayPal,
add
any
one
of
thing,
those types of things.
I just
So
wanted
it
to say
has
that
to be able to be
um,
done by wire.
persons
The
ask a lot of
only
times
way
how,
that I've seen
why we locked
people
into
kind
this
of get
mode of
around it,
payment,
if
and
possible,
well,
is
my
using a
supplier
local
is
freight
X, Y,
forwarding
and Z.
company that
For the
purchased the
purpose
item
of
for
this
you.
grant and
And
the
so they would
purpose of
give you
receiving
one whole
funding from us,
invoice for the
we
purchase
have
of the
to
item
execute payment
and the
via wire
landing and
transfer
everything and the
only.
customs.
Administratively,
And that
operationally,
is
we do
sufficient.
not have the capacity to make
Llewellyn nodded if I'm
payments
saying
in
the right
any
thing,
other
yes.
method. For health and safety reasons, we cannot allow check collection. And so wire transfer is the best option for this particular program. We're just asking you to find a vendor that accepts wire transfers, and moving forward, you can utilize
Okay,
any
yes.
vendor you
So
see fit
they have
afterwards
itemized.
with your own money is what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So they have to say exactly what they're buying for you so that we can see it. Oh, that was clear.
Great question. So yes and no. We do want to know how you've adjusted and managed. We do want to know that the funding will be used so that the business can continue, which is why we ask questions about how you've managed in COVID, as well as how you plan on using what are your milestones in the upcoming 12 months. Because we don't want to utilize too much of this money just to pay off bills. We'd like a business to have longevity. I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
No.
Another
So
question
if
we
you
had
have a
is,
business
are
plan already,
grant
you are a
approvals
registered
more
public business
directed to
business plan
persons
want to be
affected by
template to provide all the
COVID
questions.
or unemployed individuals, etc.?
No. No. My answer is no. No. Yeah, you don't have to have a business plan. Just fill out the questions. If you have a business plan, just copy and paste. Mhm. Yes.
Okay. Are full business plans required for this round?
That's my answer. Yeah, I could see. Yeah. So 70% of the funding will
You
go to
breaking up
existing,
again,
30%
Llewellyn.
startups.
No. So, I mean, just not, I guess. Have we removed that requirement for business plan and executive summary? It's just the executive summary template now, right?
So you would have received an email that has a
Okay.
list
And
of
those
reasons
questions would
why
basically
you
ask you
haven't,
the things that
you were not successful.
should be
And like
in
I
your
said,
business plan
the
anyways.
most common reason in
Right.
these,
Okay.
the last round would have been budgetary constraints.
What else? What else? What else? Can I request an exact amount for my grant? Yeah, no, sorry, it's so much questions. I just trying to pull out the ones. Is there a preference? I know you kind of touched on this. Is there a preference for existing businesses versus startup businesses? Several persons are saying that they received an email saying that they already received funding, and that's a reason why they were denied. I'm not sure. Is that included in the long list of reasons, or okay, you could.
Sure. So you can do one of two things. You can have the freight forwarder provide you with a quote upfront, or you can make mention in the use of funds that you would like to use a portion of the approved funding for customs or for landed costs.
Okay, and just to make a note there, being in marketing and communications, I just want to note that it's very important to read everything in its entirety because a lot of times, things that could be confusing or that could be, I guess, misinterpreted or brushed over are in the communications. I know sometimes we could be a little wordy, but we're just trying to give you, as much information as possible up front. So that's just my little tidbit to you guys as
I
well.
see a question about, do I have to resubmit all the information?
Okay,
Yes.
we had the question already.
If you
Okay,
applied
so
in
this
round one or
one,
round two,
we
and you
kind
want
of
to
already
apply for
started
round
talking
3,
about
you
it.
have to
Invoice related
resubmit
question. Do
the
items have to be
information.
purchased locally or can it be internationally? If internationally, how do you account
Can
for
two
custom
separate
duties since that would
businesses
not allow
apply?
for an invoice or
Yes,
quote
you
to be
can
uploaded?
apply. However, in the interest of allowing more persons to benefit from the approval, we haven't approved two businesses for the same person.
So just to reiterate what she said, because I know she broke up a little bit there, you can use a freight forwarder to receive a quote for that, or you can list that in your use of funds that you intend to use approved funding.
Yes, this is correct.
For
We do provide
custom
reimbursement on a
and
case-by-case
duty.
basis.
We wouldn't be able
but
to,
most importantly,
account
the
for that if
purchases
you
must
don't
have
let us
been
know
after
that
the
that was your
application
intention.
window. So whenever the round 2
So that
started,
answers a few questions about the
so for
quotes and
example, February
invoices.
1st is when
Sorry?
round 3 opens. You can submit for reimbursement for any purchase made after February 1st. We've shortened the application window, so it's only 3 weeks long. We do want to give persons the time to collect all of their documentations, or if they run into any technical issues, we want to give persons the benefit of the doubt. What we have done is we are not allowing you to
I don't know
edit
if you
your
saw this
application.
question. I was
So
told by a
submissions are
representative if I'm
final in
purchasing
round 3.
items
Once
from
you
a
hit
foreign
submit,
supplier, I
that
can
is it. And
purchase,
so we're able to
provide
adjudicate
receipt, and
very
be
quickly
reimbursed. Is
in
this
round 3.
so?
Yeah. We don't preclude that. Where we only disperse to vendors that have business like that.
Someone
So somebody's
asked,
making a
why
purchase on
not
your
have a
behalf, it
cap
must be
on
a
the
business.
application? Stop
That's why it's
accepting
important for
when
you to
you
read
reach a
through
certain
the
amount,
information
so persons won't apply
packet
in
that's on
vain
our
and try
website,
for
the
the
information
other
on the
rounds if
website,
there is any.
so that you can get all of those details in advance. But we don't get involved in the details of your business in these programs.
There's a question. Wait. Can I pay for the receiving
So
of the
family
package
islanders, we've
myself or
made
give it to someone
considerations
in
depending
America
on
to
the
collect
island
for
in
me?
participation with local
That
government.
sounds like a
So there are
business, I guess, a
certain
personal business decision, but you
approvals
can answer
that
that,
we will
Luella.
use in place of. I can't say what they are right now because I don't remember, and I'm not going to sit here and give you the wrong information. So let me use GB for example. You can use port approval, whatever the port license is, in replacement of the business license. And then in some family islands, I know the administrator gives certain approvals. So whatever the approval is for your island, we'll accept. If that's but no, we cannot accept the trade name because we have sufficient persons that have a valid business license at this time.
Okay, this question has kind of been answered already, but just to reiterate, because it came up again 2 minutes ago. My question
Yes.
coincides with the letter of approval from Inland Revenue. However,
I mean, within 6 months
can
is
the rules be
fine.
adjusted
When
for
you,
Family Islanders because
if
we
you
have to
are
get approved
successful
by
and you're
council, so
approved,
our
you
license
will receive a
process is
what to
different.
expect
Can our
pamphlet
trade
from the
name
disbursement
approval
team that
work
itemizes all
for
of
Family
the
Islanders
details
because they have a different
for disbursement. So even if you need to make adjustments or you need to resubmit new invoices, quotes, or estimates, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, there was another question. If I've applied before and was not approved, can I use the same invoices for round 3? I know that would have been last year. I've seen several questions about this. So yeah, there's no date. I mean, there's like, how far out can invoices be? Someone asked for first-time applicants, are there sample questions or a list of requirements, info docs, so we can be prepared for the February opening? Llewellyn, I can answer this. When we made the announcement of the launch, we would have included a link as well. You can find a full information
We do
packet. A
consider
lot of the
the
questions that
owner
are
as
being
an
asked
employee
is
as
about
well.
the requirements,
So we do take into consideration the number of employees,
eligibility, what
but
we
don't
would
make
be
any preferences
expecting
for
going
persons who
forward.
have,
The process itself and all of that is included
we do take that into
on the
consideration,
standalone
but
grant
we don't
page.
exclude
You
persons
can
because they don't
go
have employees.
to accessaccelerator.org/standalone
Yeah.
grant.
Thank you.
If you don't want to type it in, you can also just go to our website, and under the funding menu, you will see Standalone Grant Program as well as the other programs listed if they're active or if they're closed. So all of that information is always provided. We
Yeah,
do
you were gonna
encourage you
read it.
to go and read before applying, because we don't want you to miss anything, and we really have provided all of this information up front. So I encourage you to go and check that out on our website. I will drop the link again.
No, just upload the passport renewal application or
Oh,
email
you need another
or whatever
question.
you've used. That's what persons have done in the past. Because
Does
their
the
passport
number of
has expired. Those
employees
that actually
affect
don't
your chances
expire,
of funding?
but we use the most recent 2017 one. But it has to. We're trying to prove citizenship. So you could go ahead.
Yeah, I hear you well.
Yeah. If it's expired, just show that it's being renewed.
So just to reiterate, if she was breaking up just now for you, we take it into consideration,
It's
but
not
it's
easy.
not preferential whether you have employees or
I know what
not,
it
because
means.
we do consider the
We are
business owner an
trying to
employee.
spread the funding
Okay.
according to our population
In
density. So
you say your question was
larger
unanswered?
islands like
I
Andros,
kind of
St.
think I
Croix,
saw
Zuma,
one that like
Abaco, we anticipate to receive more funding than
in the
islands
event that
like
my
Rumkey,
identification
Inango,
IDs are being
Mayaguana.
renewed,
We don't have a
can NIB or
particular
voter's
breakdown
card
because, like I mentioned
suffice
earlier,
to
we
upload until
like
passport
to
renewals
ensure
are
that all
done?
family islands are represented equitably across all rounds. So like in the last round, we ensured that there was representation from, I think, Mayaguana because there wasn't a person in round one. So the family island split for the bigger islands is a lot more difficult than the smaller islands and keys.
Okay, I think you were breaking up a little bit, but basically you were saying that if they are in the process of renewing, that they can submit
So
that
all of
renewal,
our
I guess,
approvals should
receipt or
be, well, Paige, you could
notification.
answer when that'll
This
be
kind of,
live.
I saw
don't know
another
that
question
answer.
to piggyback off of that. So are persons able to submit expired
Okay.
documents for
True.
identification? Or it need to be like in the process of renewal?
Okay, so the only reason I brought that point up that for you, Paige, was because, and I'm trying to say this as best I can, but
How
it's
will
not about
Family
how
Island
many
20%
industries.
disbursements
We
be
don't have
carried
any
out?
preference for an industry. What I'm trying to say is that
I'm
we
not
have. Hold on,
sure what that.
what I'm trying to say is that we want representation from all industries. So we have about 13 industries you can select from on the website. And so we just like representation across all industries. That's my point. I'm sure we didn't get to all of the questions, and apologies if we missed any questions that were asked. But if there was, as we are getting close to ending time, if there are any questions that you didn't hear an answer for, could you just drop it in the chat right now so that I can answer them quickly before we wrap up, please?
Someone is
Oh, yes,
asking if
most
it's possible to
definitely.
get a list
There was
of the
another one
companies approved so
about,
that we can have an idea of
is
what
it possible to complete
industries
the
would stand a better
entrepreneurship
chance.
certification? If you mean the seminar, you have to complete it before the application deadline. To pay, for example,
That actually
local
coming from up
companies, it's the
top,
same as
but we
international
do have
companies. You provide
the
the
companies when
invoice,
we're
quote, or
able to
estimate
list
with
them,
the
we
accompanying
will
wire
list them. But
instructions.
I
The
guess
wire
more
form, the
for
wire
this
payment will
part, I
be
think
made on our side. And then
the
you will
point that needs
receive
answering is
notification
what
of payment with an
industries
accompanying wire
would that
receipt that you can provide to the vendor. And that's how you'll be able to prove payment and then access your goods or services. In terms of the industry, we'll circle back again, Mr. or Miss Russell. That's not an issue. The representation, there will not be any industry that will be disqualified because it's been represented previously. Like I said, we want representation from all industries. So as long as there's persons who have applied in any industry, that industry will be represented in the funding.
home-based businesses considered? Yes. I'm trying to find new questions.
And the last thing I wanted to say, that Paige mentioned, apply as early as possible. Last round, what took us so long was that the number of applicants who applied on the last day crashed our website and the application. So we had to extend and allow people the courtesy to have their application in. I cannot promise you that I'm able to do the same with the length of time we allow persons to do that. So I
A
would
question
encourage you
about the
all, especially if you're
Entrepreneur
participating
Seminar.
here
So
today,
once you've completed
if
your
you can tell anybody
application,
who's
you
interested in
will,
participating
it
to
should
please
pop up on your
apply
screen to
early.
take you to register
It
for the
will better your
Entrepreneur
chance because I
Seminar.
remember I
And if
mentioned
not, it should also
one of the
send to your
criteria
email. So you'll
for,
get
I
a
think it's
link. It's an online, it's a
doesn't
virtual
matter. One
seminar
of the
that you would have to complete
criteria
and answer a
is
few
date of
questions. And when
submission.
you're completed,
And
you have to
so
watch the videos in its
if a
entirety,
tiebreaker
and
needs
then
to
it'll
occur,
recognize you
then
of
we end up
having
looking at
completed
the date a
the
person
seminar. So
submitted
it's
the
virtual, it's
application.
not in person,
So
and it's only
it
sent to you
will
after
only
you
benefit
complete the
you in the long
application.
run
With
to
that
apply
being
as early
said,
as you can. Submissions are final,
you
like I
really
mentioned
need to
earlier.
put in your application sooner than
So
later, because I
you have
know
from now
sometimes we
until
have a lot of
February
persons
1st
waiting until
to
the
visit the
last minute to
website, read
submit,
all
and
of the
then
documents, read through the
frantically
frequently
messaging
asked
us wondering
questions,
what we
read
could do
through
to
the
help.
information flyer,
So I just
collect
encourage
all
you
of the
to
relevant
take your
documents
time, but
so that on
also
the first day you're able to
submit
start the
earlier
application.
than the deadline, which will be on February 19th. That's a Friday. So the application will be open for 3 weeks.
And the
This
last
information has also
question,
been provided, like I said, on our
answer the
website at
last two questions, brick and mortar
accessaccelerator.org
over e-commerce online. There's no
standalone
preference for
grant.
either.
All of this
And
information is
then
in that
when I
information
say
packet
wire
that is on that
instructions,
page
when you tell the vendor
already.
you need wire instructions, the vendor will know exactly what it is. But for example, for local wire instructions would include the bank name, the branch name or number, uh, the account number, and the account holder name. That would be an example for local banks. For international banks, it's a little bit more requirements because we do have to adhere to central bank regulations. So we would need the beneficiary name, so the account holder name, the account number, the bank address. We would need the ABA or routing number. We would also need the SWIFT code. I think that's it. But once you request wire instructions, vendors know exactly what that means. If the vendor is unaware, tell them you need the details of their bank so that a wire transfer or an account to account transfer can be made. And ensure that they are able to receive and track international wires if it's an international vendor, and a local wire if it's a local vendor. What's the NDA question? So all of this, any employee and or consultant of the Access Accelerator is required to sign a non-disclosure agreement as well as a confidentiality agreement. That is the basis of our employment, consultancy, or contractual here at this organization. We require persons who participate in group training sessions when they were face-to-face to also sign NDAs. We have had clients who've requested team members of us to sign NDAs as well, and we do so at the request of the client. But please be assured that everybody who is in the employ or the consultancy of our organization is liable for all host of things in our confidentiality agreements. Okay, sorry. Okay. Let me okay, let me get the blank stuff. 1 second, y'all. Right.
You want to take the NDA question, Llewellyn? Sorry. Is there an assumption of NDA for ideas submitted?
Okay, so the last question, the wire instructions. So for local wire instructions, you need to have the beneficiary name, the beneficiary account number, the beneficiary's bank name, and the branch name or transit number. So one more time, the beneficiary name, the beneficiary account number, the beneficiary's bank name, and the branch name or transit number. This is for local wires. For international wires, what you would need is the beneficiary name, the beneficiary
Someone's
bank
asking about
account
the
number, the beneficiary bank name, the beneficiary's bank address, the ABA or routing number, and the SWIFT code. So once again, bank name, account number, bank address, ABA
Once
or
again, because
routing
I keep
number,
seeing the
and
question
SWIFT
come up
code.
while Llewellyn is getting that information. We do have a list of all the requirements,
That'd be
all the
great.
eligibility, the entire process, and frequently asked questions. The link to the frequently asked questions are on our website at accessaccelerator.org
So some of you should be
slash
mindful that your
standalone
business
grants.
license has an
Not grants,
expiry
not with
date
the
on
S,
it, but it's
standalone
also
grant.
valid up
Also, if
until
you
a
happen to
certain
go to
point.
Google
So
and
for
type in
some
Access
business
Accelerator and you
licenses
go to our
that
homepage, you
expired
can also
December
find
2020,
the page
it is still
under the
valid until
funding
March
menu
in some
and go to the
instances. So just look
standalone
at your
grant.
business
A
license
lot of the
carefully,
questions that I'm seeing asked, we've
and
already
those
answered
would
and
still be
or can be
accepted
answered if you would
once
read
it's
that
valid,
information packet
right?
or check out our frequently asked questions.
Yep. slightly just the wording of the question so that we can get the specifics of to get specifically what we need. So as we move through the rounds, there's certain information we want more clearly. So we have tweaked the wording just a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Just to make a point there, Llewellyn, I will just add this to the frequently asked questions. Okay. Someone is asking about businesses awaiting renewal from inland revenue. We already addressed this, but you could go ahead again, Llewellyn.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Paige. And I just wanted to leave with this last point. I don't want anybody who has applied and not been successful to take any of this personally. I completely understand the current climate that we're in, economic as well as political. I completely understand some historical issues that we've had that may cause you to have
But we're also saying
preconceived
that we're
notions.
accepting
But
persons
just
who
note
put
that we
in
are
for
attempting
it.
as best we can
Yeah.
to assist as many micro, small, and medium enterprises in the country.
Someone
And
asked if
just
the
be
questions have
patient
changed
with
from the
us
second round to the third round on
because
the
of your
application.
overwhelming interest and response. This is what has allowed us to have the third round because this was only supposed to be a one-time deal. We're now on round 3, as well as we have, I think, about 6 upcoming programs and initiatives just to assist because of your overwhelming response. So just be mindful that we just want you to work while you
So,
wait.
Llewellyn was breaking up a little
In
bit, but I think
time, the
I know what
success
she
will
was
come.
trying to
And
say.
as much as we'd like to assist
Basically,
everyone,
as we go through
we just
these
cannot.
rounds, we've been
But
able
we
to
will do our
see
best
what
to
exactly it
provide
is
the
we
services,
needed,
the funding,
and to
the
streamline the
training that
process
you
a
would
little
need
bit to
to
make
really
it
get your
easier,
business
more
to the
user
next
friendly,
level.
and to provide us the exact
So we
information we
can't
need.
answer
We may
any
have
more
adjusted
questions today.
some of the
You have
questions.
all of the ways to
So
contact
again,
us.
I mean,
Please reach out to
it's
us.
not a cookie
Allow our
cutter answer,
customer
to be
service
honest. And
reps
so the application
24
may
to
be
48 hours to
slightly
respond via
different, but
WhatsApp,
the requirements
as
are,
well as
basically the
visit our
same.
website. It has all the
Like I
relevant
said,
information you'll
we
need.
are not
And if
necessarily asking
at
for
the
a
last
business plan
resort,
anymore, but you would still
submit
need
a
to
ticket
provide
and somebody will
that
get
sort
back
of
to you
information that
as
would
soon
be
as
on
they
the
can.
business plan. But we've just kind of spelt it out by providing that template, or those questions for you to insert in it. And the truth of the matter is that these are some things that you should know as a business owner. You should be able to provide that to anyone who's asking, or who you're asking funding from. So that's just the truth of the matter for that fact. So.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Paige. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. I was a little bit nervous. I thought it was going to be a lot more tough. But thank you so much for sparing me. Thanks for participating. And please keep an eye out for more of these training sessions to come. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. I guess just to top that off, I know you may want to have the last say, but it just to encourage you as well. I think sometimes, especially now that we've been getting so much traction from the standalone grant, people think that we only have the standalone grant. But it is a separate initiative from our core Access Accelerator program. And so I still always encourage persons to join the Access Accelerator waitlist. We do have a slight waitlist, but once you're invited to the portal, you're invited to, upload your information, and that way you would have access to additional advising, and you would be receiving direct emails from us whenever there are other things that pop up. And so, you're not limited to just the standalone grant program. This is just one initiative out of all of the things that we do at our company. And like Llewellyn said, we really are just trying to assist as much people as possible. So, don't be discouraged. That's just my little encouragement for you.